Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast, making a positive difference in learning through innovation.
Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast, and thanks for making us part of your educational PD journey. In today's episode, we're embarking on the exciting journey to explore the fascinating intersection of artificial intelligence and personalized learning. Imagine a classroom where every student receives tailored resources and support perfectly aligned for their unique learning style and needs. With AI at our fingertips, the vision has become a reality. Join us as we uncover how AI can revolutionize the way we teach and learn, making education more engaging, inclusive, and effective for every student. I am Jimmy Kate.
I'm Pam Hubler.
And we are thrilled, we are BCSD Innovative Learning Coordinators, to be able to talk about the importance of personalized learning inside of the classroom and really kind of how AI can do it. And this is where, again, if you're a BCSD employee, going to the AI Navigator is a good place to kind of start and thinking about how you're going to implement that. Again, just a reminder that AI Navigator is found inside of ClassLink and just gives you some things to think about when you're thinking about implementing AI into your classroom. We also have a link inside of the show notes as well. But Pam, when you kind of think of like just if somebody's never even thought about PL or new to personalized learning, what would be a good way to kind of talk about some of the explanations and some of the quick benefits of it before we get into the actual Magic School tools and how they can help personalize their classroom?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with personalized learning is, because it sounds like it's just a big topic. But I think the biggest thing is really getting away from the teacher as the stand and deliver and kind of getting into more almost like mini lesson type activities and things where the teacher is really more of a facilitator.
Sure.
You give them the initial content, but not all students, they may not need it. So being able to really find out who knows what and what they need so that way you can use the most of the time in the classroom. And in the past, that's been really hard because you're having to create a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Where now with something like Magic School AI, it can make it can do so much so fast that you can create those materials for the students without having to spend a lot of extra time.
I think that's the important thing, because when you're trying to introduce PL to the classroom, I definitely found it being overwhelming of how do I create all of these different materials? How do I create, if you're going to do the pathway version or you're going to do the kind of small group, the station rotation version, the choice boards, all of those things, that's a lot of time and creation with AI that really eliminates that. As well. And it's kind of like the same thing with, the way that I like to sum it up is just removing barriers for learning, right? I think everybody would agree that anytime we remove those barriers for whatever reason that they're not learning, then the student can have more success, right? So how can I do that? Well, AI's almost removed the barriers for the teacher and being able to create some of these resources. And so in a way, it's kind of personalizing that as well. And so, yeah, I think that AI is going to be Magic School specifically using some of the tools going to be able to, personalize, hit the different, learning styles. You can create a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, version of whatever your lesson is. And in seconds, it'll spit out some examples for you to be able to bring into the classroom. And so anytime I think you can bring that in, you're going to have some success with your students.
And if we think about, each one of us can think of how we were as students. I was not one of those that could just listen and get all the information. And I might take notes, but then I would lose some of the information that the teacher was saying. So really thinking about those different learning styles makes such a huge difference. And being able to touch on all of them at some point during a lesson, then you'll get more kids, getting the content that you need them to get.
I was the auditory annoying one that could just hear it and
I'm so jealous. My daughter's that way. I cannot.
But so being able to hit all those, so we got, and then you're also thinking about learning disabilities, students, your ML students as well, finding opportunities that can, bring in some success for them, I think is a good way to thinking about PL. And again, it doesn't have to be this all encompassing. One of the things that you love to highlight is that it's a lot of the things that they're already doing in the classrooms. It can be a small little shift. And that's where, the book Shift to Student Led, I think is important, by Doctors Novak and Tucker.
Yep. Yes.
And so we'll have kind of maybe a link to that as well, because I think that's a great place. Because it's small little shifts that you can do to, again, remove some of those barriers to increase success, engagement, and interaction in the classroom.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to put a lot in the show notes because it's personalized learning is a big topic.
Yes.
But really, we want teachers to be able to take away something that they could do as soon as they listen. Like, hey, I can go ahead and try this in my class when I get there.
Sure. And what are some easy takeaways if you were to just wrap up a few things.
Right.
Then we're going to get into the actual tools and how they can create them.
I think the structure of your class is probably the easiest things to tweak quickly. And, I think elementary teachers are used to more of like that small group instruction and, like a station rotation using choice boards. Maybe like the further up you go, I think because the content is very specific, they don't think of it as being something that you could do with with older students.
Right.
So I think that those small group flip learning, that's another one, like, giving them videos and things like that to watch at home, where when you're in class, you're actually doing a lot of the work.
Right.
And you can have a lot of those conversations with the kids. So really just, I think the structure of your day, that really could be an easy thing to kind of try.
And even taking like the material that you have and find ways for students to be able to, engage with that material differently. Even inside my classroom, I would have some kids, I made videos. I didn't do flip learning, but as much as, students could go watch the video on their own if they wanted to.
Right.
They could use the textbook to find information. So I gave them the material that I needed them to find, let them figure out the best way that they could learn it on their own to empower them in their learning. And then they were able to we could come back together and find out how they learned and what they learned. So, and then provide that choice that I think is important. I think anytime you can, empower students, give them choice in what they're doing, I think you're going to have, remove some of those barriers as well.
I bet that took you a lot of time too to create all those resources. So that's where we're getting into Magic School AI and how it can help us.
Absolutely. So you brought in a wonderful quote from Casey Bell. Look for ways to make the most of the opportunities that technology provides and be intentional about using digital tools to do new things. And that is from the wonderful Casey Bell from the Shake Up Learning Show. Shout out to Casey Bell. And I think this is a great, springboard into some of the Magic School tools and how can AI kind of tailor those educational content? What are some of the tools they could use to get started?
I think some of my favorite, really the lesson planning alone, that's a good one because it takes you a bit of time, especially if you're like, I know this is a standard that I need to cover. Then that's all you have to do is take that standard, plug it in, give it the grade level, and then your Magic School will give you a lot of ideas just depending on the prompt that you ask it. I know I was playing around with some of the ideas of just using the chatbot. Raina, we love Raina.
Yes.
And the first thing I said was create a small group schedule so third grade teachers could rotate through all the students based on high, medium, and low academic skills. Because generally, all classes you could divide into 3 groups.
Sure.
And it gave me this whole weekly schedule, and they had it on every day was the same. So, and I wanted it to change a little bit. So then I just said alternate the groups to different days, and it gave me a schedule. And then I asked it another question, and I went in to provide students with carefully designed opportunities to access, engage, and express learning at a variety of rigor levels depending on pre-assessment, because that is basically PL in a nutshell.
Right.
Really just getting the students to be able to access, engage, and express learning, and the pre-assessment, which another thing that takes a long time to create.
Now you can do it very
quickly. Exactly. Then you have an idea of what they already know and what they need to know.
Yes.
So then you're not spending all your time in class giving them information that they already know. So that is that's another question that I asked. So, and it gave me a pre-assessment overview. It gave me a group A, a group B, and a group C, and gave me an idea of what access, engage, and express learning would look like.
Yeah. So using the chatbot too, you could also just write, all right, make me a 10-question pre-assessment right then and there. So the chatbot is definitely a great place to start.
Yes.
And it can create everything that you're asking for the specific tools as well. So like if you're saying, make me as you're going through, you put your standard in, you get your levels, you get the different choices, you get your pre-assessment. All right, make me a choice board. It'll make you a choice board right then and there, using all of the same things that you've already been prompting it and telling it about. So starting with I think the chatbot's a good place because it can do the whole thing as you're kind of doing your think aloud and with that as well. So, and
if you're not good with the writing or the prompts that you want to ask it, just use one of the examples, like the 5E lesson plan model. That's I think the best. That kind of sums up a lesson plan that fits in with personalized learning, because the 5 E's are engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So it gives you put a standard in, you put the grade level in, you can add some additional customization.
Yep.
You can put the standard in, and there's actually a little spot in Magic School if you click exemplar, like if you're not sure what really to put in there, if you
or what it's going to look like,
yeah,
when it spits out anything, right?
Then you can kind of see what it would look like. So there was an example of exploring the musculoskeletal system, and it has engage, how to begin the lesson, explore, explain, elaborate, evaluate, and from there you can even ask it more questions and get a multiple choice test. I mean, you can keep going and keep going,
keep prompting and keep going. Yes, that's a huge part of it. The one that I think the tool in Magic School that I would have been using the most, and that's the choice boards. We know that I love choice in the classroom. I think letting students be able to demonstrate what they know, however they feel, however they want to do so, based off of a list of structure. That's not just a free for all. And I think that choice boards are the greatest thing that's created inside of there. Every time I can ask it, here's my standard, here's my grade level, and then additional details. I want them to use this technology. I want to have no tech options. I want to have all the different choices. And then you even can say in the assignment description, give it more details so that students have more direction. And then it'll actually give you like a step-by-step instruction or more details so that you can keep prompting that choice board, but you don't have to think of all these ideas on your own. Right. It creates them for you. So
yeah, because I would never think to add a song or rap as an option because that is not that's not what I would choose. Yes. But I know some people would love that.
And some of my students took that choice all the time when I would give them that choice. Yes. I had these great theater students, and they would do they did a spoof on a Hamilton song one at a time on the American Revolution, and and created a different version of it. But it was and they had a great time, and they learned a lot doing it. So that's removing those barriers that we talk about. So
yes,
let me see that choice board again.
So it's got
it gives you comic strip options, song or rap, model creation, timelines, diagrams and video. And if you don't like those, you can say, add this or put this in there. And, say you have to do so many of this. And, so it's really, you could just keep prompting it to get all of those information, which I think that is great.
And I like how this example, it just happened to add 3 different pathways. So like a public service announcement or a persuasive letter campaign or a community newsletter. Now I would pick a newsletter. Which one would you pick?
The 1-minute video.
Yeah. So that's just because I like making the creative, pretty stuff, know? So just depending on, how you learn and how you like to actually produce your
I like to get on video and jibber jabber, as we can tell. So.
There you go. Yeah. So there's lots of ways to make it where, you just get more out of it if, you had choice in it.
And I think the other thing about this is, you can add these real world connections, making it relevant. So there's ways to be able to tie this into what students are going to need to know in the future, maybe some career connections that might pique their interest in ways that that they haven't thought of or that you haven't thought of. So to really get more of that buy-in and engagement, which is again, whenever there's engagement and interaction, you're going to see increased success. So any way that you can kind of bring that in as well, I think is important.
And you can get so lost in these, multiple explanations.
Yep.
I never really thought about that because
misconceptions is another one too. Yeah. What are common misconceptions when teaching whatever subject? We as the experts understand our language, but for a student that's not an expert or a student maybe that's not as interested in something, there are ways that you can use Magic School and the tools that are there to bring in that interest to get them excited about it. You can also use text tools for scaffolding and translation so that you can really help make sure that it's at the right level for your different groups that you were talking about. There's lots of really great ways and tools to be able to bring that in. One other thing that I didn't even think about, but using AI and creating the show notes for this and that they brought up was being able to input the learning profile into Magic School and get the suggested activities that come from it. I thought that was a really interesting way for them to be able to get that. So if learning profiles are something that if you may create or you don't create, but you also could use Magic School to create the learning profile that your students could take, which could be a choice or it could be some kind of creation. Or or just even a multiple choice test as well, and take that results, put them in the AI, and then get those suggested activities. So.
Yeah, and that if you don't know what the learning profile is, it's basically kind of like an alternative to that All About Me.
Yes.
But we just give them, I would say, better questions to answer. So it's a little bit more specific as to what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are.
You could use AI to create your learning profile activity for your students as well. And I'll never, when I took the PL course, and I took it mid-year, and then, so I had my students all year long. And then in January, I did learning profiles for the first time, thinking that I had known my students. I was pretty good at building relationships and getting to know them. And then I do this learning profile, and was surprised by some of the things that I got from my students that I thought that I knew very well, and how they learned. And then I was like, okay, so that kind of opened my eyes that these learning profiles are a way for me to really get to know my students better, for my students to get to know themselves better when they actually have to self-reflect on how do they learn best, where do they sit best, do I make good choices with the partners that I pick, what role is best for me, how do I like to demonstrate my learning, and then revisit those as the year goes along. And maybe even they learn, well, you know what, I thought I liked doing this one way, but I really don't, so I'm going to let's revamp my learning profile. So
yes, I did. I know I did that as a coach, so that way I could help other teachers, and talking about your strengths and interests and needs and talents. It's interesting when you do that with students, just to see what they think their talents are. Right. And it has nothing to do with education, you would think, but it does tell you a lot about your kids in a short period of time. Yes. So yes, I think it'll be a good one to create.
And you can pull all those things into how they write, or how they just demonstrate any of their mastery. I think you can pull a lot of those in. So for thinking about the future of PL and the future of education and the future of where does AI kind of maybe fit into this, and what are some thoughts that you have kind of moving forward for teachers if they're thinking ahead?
I just think it's one of those, like, pick one thing that you want to make different. I mean, really, if you just think about like the worst part, I always thought of like, what's the worst part of your day? Right. What can we do to make this one better?
Right.
And
that's
I do
a good
think,
way to think about it.
Yeah, because it could always be better, and that's even having those conversations with the kids. I remember asking a student. It was in a personalized learning class, and I asked a student, so what part of the day do you like the most? And she told me, and then she's like, the worst part is dismissal. She's like, we need an SOP for this. Right. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I want to say she was in 4th grade. Yeah. So they start to understand that, we can change some of the parts of our day to make it better. Yeah. So, and use Magic School AI to help you make it better.
Yes. Yeah. I'd always say, like, what's that one lesson that you dread teaching, or that one unit, or that one topic, and then how can we, jazz it up a little bit, and make it better. So I think that's another way to use Magic School as well, to really encourage educators to, create that, growth mindset, to really change the way that they're teaching some of the things, and using this tool as a way to get new ideas about how they could really make their lessons more engaging, more interactive, and really better for our students. So.
Or what takes you the longest? What part of your day, like how much time do you spend during your planning working on certain things, or lesson plans? Where
can AI fit into that as
exactly?
well?
Where can it help you?
Yes,
it's your assistant.
Yep. So definitely, collaboration is a big part, using AI to create that collaboration, and to really get feedback on and create those more engaging and interactive learning experiences. So I think that's a good place to start. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this, dive into PL, and then how AI really can enhance what you're doing. I definitely encourage you to explore the Magic School tools found in ClassLink. Explore the AI Navigator that we have in as well. And I also invite you to share your experiences with AI in education with us as well. What ways are you using it? Which ways do you have questions about? We definitely want to hear from you, and how that AI Magic School specifically can really, how has it made teaching better, and what questions do you have? We want to hear from you. So please reach out to us.
And if you want to get into a little bit more personalized learning, reach out to your ILC. Any of us can help.
Yes.
And we'd love to help kind of make your classroom a little bit better for you and your students.
Yes. Well, thanks for tuning in. We hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to check out the show notes for tons of resources, including links to our podcast video and the Innovation Squadcast PD. For every 2 episodes, you get 1 renewal credit. Make sure you sign up in your Unified Talent to get that Google form. Stay connected. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we want to hear from you, like you said. What ideas do you have for new podcast ideas? What do you want to have? What do you want to listen to? Do you want to be on as a guest and share your thoughts and experience with us? We would love to have you on there. And we are always excited to engage with our teachers to be on the podcast. So, Pam, thanks for being here. Until next time, keep innovating.
Bye.
Bye.